There are many different ways to acquire superpowers, and some of them are way less fun than others. But while we know how Steve Rogers got his superpowers, do we really know what is actually in the Super Soldier Serum? Maybe it's a secret, not exactly scientific ingredient that we've seen as a requirement in the MCU before. As you could have probably guessed from the name, the Super Soldier Serum was meant to create the perfect soldier. It was developed by Dr. Abraham Erskine, and his research was so revolutionary that nobody's been able to get it just right ever since. Not only does Steve Rogers get to be the perfect human specimen, but he alone held that honor, at least until he went back in time to live out his life with Peggy Carter in Avengers Endgame. The serum may make you a perfect human being, but humans still aren't immortal. Receiving the Super Soldier Serum worked out great for Steve Rogers, who got to become a hero, save his best friend Bucky Barnes, and to live out a life in which he helped as many people as possible. However, we also know another guy who received the serum, and let's just say things worked out less well for him. Yes, Johann Schmidt was always a bad guy, but receiving a less than perfect dose of the serum really didn't do much to improve his personality or his appearance. He's such the opposite of a people person that he probably liked his job guarding the Soul Stone on Vormir. Although it was kind of a niche specialization, and after Endgame he's presumably out of work. Man, the economy's just tough on everybody. But you don't have to be a genius scientist to see the same serum affected Captain America and the Red Skull completely differently. Now, the official explanation is that Dr. Erskine hadn't yet perfected the formula when Johann Schmidt insisted he receive it. After that went horribly awry, Dr. Erskine made some adjustments, which is why Steve Rogers is so much more pleasant to look at. But was that the real reason? After all, nobody's been able to perfectly replicate the Super Soldier Serum since. It's not unthinkable to imagine that the first human test went so horribly wrong that Erskine didn't want to make it in huge quantities. Reddit user The Laser Shell came up with a theory to explain what the secret ingredient is in the Super Soldier Serum. And it makes sense that it's something exceptionally difficult, if not impossible, to replicate. After all, our MCU scientists have figured out how to go into the quantum realm and travel through time. So how much is out there that they truly can't figure out? But as characters like Doctor Strange know, modern MCU science definitely has its limits. And we know that Johann Schmidt and Steve Rogers weren't exactly comparable test subjects. Captain America: The First Avenger made a big deal about how special Steve Rogers is, and how even when he was a scrawny new recruit, he just wanted to help people and was willing to sacrifice himself to do so. And then there's Johann Schmidt, who was just an all-over terrible human being. So is it so crazy to think that maybe the serum was actually the same formula, and it just affected the two men differently? After all, Dr. Erskine himself said that the serum didn't fail, and it did exactly what it was supposed to do, enhanced what was already within. He accused Schmidt of failing at being human, which is actually a pretty sick insult. Could the true secret ingredient of the Super Soldier Serum be the intangible worthiness requirement? When Odin wanted to punish Thor, he took away his favorite toy and grounded him, quite literally by sending him to Earth. If he wanted Mjolnir back, he had to become worthy, a vague yet compelling goal. Worst case scenario, if Thor isn't worthy, he can't use the hammer, which is admittedly a bummer. But not being worthy enough to receive the Super Soldier Serum has much more dire consequences. After all, is it a coincidence that Steve Rogers is the only human we've seen wield Mjolnir so far? He did so in the battle against Thanos in Avengers Endgame, and the Russo brothers also confirmed that he could have done so during Age of Ultron. He just didn't want to show off. Let's not forget that Johann Schmidt isn't the only person the serum didn't work on. In The Incredible Hulk, Bruce Banner was trying to replicate Dr. Erskine's serum, which ultimately resulted in the creation of both the Hulk and the Abomination. Now, Bruce Banner is a decent guy, but he's definitely not the shining beacon of goodness that Steve Rogers is. After all, he has so much inner anger that it helped create the Hulk. Okay, so maybe Bruce Banner wasn't doing the best job of making time travel possible in Endgame, but he was really darn close. And he figured it out pretty quickly. Would making a Super Soldier Serum that worked like Dr. Erskine's really have been so far out of his reach? Or maybe he did make the right serum, but the failure wasn't with the formula, it was with the test subjects. It would explain why Steve Rogers had such different results than Johann Schmidt, and why our hero really is one of a kind. This is definitely a fun theory, and we appreciate that it isn't just pseudoscience involving the word quantum. What do you think about this theory? Let us know in the comment section below, and then click on that subscribe button for more videos from us here at CBR. Bye for now.